Hi, Comm 130. So in this video, we're going to learn how to place images into Photoshop. We're going to learn how to troubleshoot, basically move images, resize them, the basic things that you need to do when placing images into Photoshop. So we're going to start with this image right here. Well, this logo that I created in Photoshop right here. So let's say we're wanting to take this logo and we're going to want to put it on a design or a banner or something, but we're not wanting this white box around it. We're wanting it actually to be transparent in the background so that it doesn't have this awkward box around it. Well, if you notice, we have a background image right here. And the background has a lock on it. And this essentially means that this background is locked, so we can't move it really. We can't adjust it, resize it, nothing. It's just locked on there. And every Photoshop file that you create will always have a background on there. So let's say you don't want this background image. There's two things you can do. You could either delete it. You can just hit the delete button. You can drag it to the trash can here, and it deletes. And that'll get rid of it. And now you have this checkerboard box here. That means that this is all transparent. But let's say you don't want to delete it yet, but you want to keep it there in case you do want to use it later for whatever reason. You may need the background. You may need background to be a different color. You don't want it to be necessarily transparent. But you want to be able to move this background around and play with it. And since you can't because it's locked, you're going to need to double click on this layer. So right here we have the layer itself. Don't double click on background. Don't double click here or on the, well, you can click on the lock and it'll unlock it. If you just click on that, that changes it to a layer 0. Or you can double click on the layer where it's blank right here, and it pulls up a tab where you can actually name this layer. So I want to label it background. And you can have a color in the background. Let's say I want gray. You can do a layer mode here. You can change the opacity on the layer. So it gives you just some few options that you can do, and then hit OK, and then it's applied to this layer. So now this layer is unlocked, and you can move it around if you want. Let's say it's part of your design to just kind of move it over there. You can do really what you want with it. So that is how you unlock a layer. Now we're going to go over to this tab here because I'm going to show you how to place images into Photoshop. So right now I'm working on a banner for, well, you guys, basically. All right, so I'm going to place images in there. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go Place Embedded. So you have two options here. You have Place Embedded and you have Place Linked. All right. Place Embedded is what I'm going to select, because the difference between these two is Place Embedded will actually embed the image in there. Place Linked means that it'll only link to that image. So it's not actually placed in there. Let's say you go to print this file somewhere and you only bring the file and you don't bring the images with it. It's not going to actually be linked to this file anymore. So for the sake of you're just brand new to this and learning, I mean, you worked in links with InDesign, we're just going to practice Place Embedded now. So go ahead and hit Place Embedded. It'll pull up some images here. I'm going to click on Logo PNG. I'm going to hit Place. And here's my logo. And notice, see, it has a fun transparent background. But anyways, I'm just clicking on it so I can move around. And I want it up in this corner. And I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to go to the corners, these handlebars. I'm never going to go right here, because if I go right here, it squashes the image. Or if I go right here, it can stretch the image or squish the image. And you never want to do that. You want to always keep your images in proportion. So I'm going to go only to the corners, and I'm going to hold Shift. As I'm doing that, I'm going to release my mouse first, and then I'm going to release the Shift button. If you do not release your mouse first, or your trackpad, whatever you're using to click, and you release shift, watch what happens. If I release shift, see how it's slightly adjusted? You want to avoid that. So always release your mouse first and then release the shift button. All right. Now, let's say I want to click on other layers. Notice how I'm not able to click on things or really do anything. It is because I need to accept this transformation. Photoshop wants you to always commit. They're a commitment program. They're like, you know, commit to me or else I'm not going to continue. And that's it. So in order to commit to this size, we have to hit enter. And so we hit enter to accept. And we did. Now we can go and do other things. All right. So if you're noticing you can't click on these layers, or if the tools won't let you do anything, it's probably because you have not committed to that transformation yet and you need to hit enter. So always try and hit enter right afterwards. All right, let me go ahead and I'm going to place another image in here. So place embedded, file, place embedded. To repeat, I'm going to place this Photoshop file in there, and you can put Photoshop documents inside Photoshop documents. I'm going to hit enter to accept and to commit. And then I'm going to place another one in here. So place file, place embedded. And I'm going to grab the non-designer book and hit place. And then again, hit enter to accept. All right, so I have these placed in here. Now the last tool I used was the paintbrush tool. So if you notice, I want to move these around and reposition them, but I keep getting this circle with an X through it. What that essentially means is that, you know, if I try and do things on this object, it'll say no because it's a smart object and it's not, I can't move it around. So I actually need to hit the move tool. So if you come over here to your toolbar, the cross, the X, whatever you want to call it, with a double arrow on it. This is your move tool, and this will allow you to move objects around, okay? So I have that selected, and now I can move objects. But I can only move objects that I'm selected on the layer for, okay? So here's a fun little tool a fun little setting that I want you to play around with. Up here at the top of your toolbar, you have auto select and you have show transform tools. You can go ahead and select them both. Put a check mark in both of them. And what this allows you to do is now you can select actual layers by just clicking on the objects themselves, okay? So I can go around and select layers. Now I know for sure that I don't want these two to move. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to those layers, I'm gonna click on them, and I'm going to lock them. So you see right here, lock, and then it has the actual lock icon there. Go ahead and click on that. Click on your layer again and hit lock. And now these won't move or select. They're staying in place. Now I can just work with these two right here. Okay, now you want to be careful though when you have the selection tool, when you have the auto select checked, let's say these are right on top of each other and I'm trying my hardest to get to this one underneath and I just can't because they're too close together. The only thing you can really do to avoid that is go over here to auto select and uncheck it and then click on the individual layer that you're wanting to work on and you can move it around, okay? Sometimes auto select hinders you and gets in your way, so just uncheck it and your life will be fine, okay? All right, so I wanna play around with my background. So I'm going to hit the little eyeball on the non-designer book and I want to move this so it's horizontal. So if I go to the corner and I go out from the corner a little bit, see how it turns to the double arrow? Now I can move it around. And if you hold shift, it'll work in angles. 90 degree, 160, 180, you know, it'll be a lot more straightforward. If you work without shift, it'll allow you to do whatever you want, move wherever you want. So it kind of depends what look you're going for. And then I'm going to go to the corner, I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to resize to fit, and I just moved it horizontal, and I resized it. So again, I'm going to have to commit. So I hit enter to accept. All right. Now I'm going to come back to my non-designer book. I'm going to do the same thing. Go in the corner, move it, resize it. And normally I just hit enter to accept, but I'm going to show you what happens if you click on another tool. It says place file, and you either hit don't place or place. Okay. Again, it wants you to commit. So that's how you move things around and troubleshoot in InDesign. I mean, Photoshop. Sorry, Photoshop. Okay, thank you.